So after this introduction or summary of what we did, very fast summary, emphasizing what I feel are the really important points at this point of knowledge to remember, I would like to discuss free will, but start with the issue of neuroethics in general. Because the more we know about the brain, the more tools we have about the brain, the more we can probe the brain. And this is frightening. Not only for you, for me too. So let's discuss it first and see, should we be afraid, should we not be afraid? Let's discuss a little bit neuroethical issues, because knowledge, every knowledge, could be used as a frightening, could be used as a tool against something, but it could be used as a tool to help us. So knowledge is frightening, but knowledge is beautiful. So let's discuss knowledge in brain research and the ethical implication of this knowledge. So question that comes immediately is the issue of brain reading. Will I be able to look at your brain now with some new technique or available techniques and know what you think? So brain reading. Can I see that your brain is now deceiving? That you are now lying? Just by looking at your brain with new tools. So this is one worry of everybody. Brain polygraphs, we can say, you know. You are going in the airport, there will be some machines looking at you, and then we know immediately that you are going to do that. You are thinking about that. Is it going to happen? So brain reading, we'll discuss it in a second. And the other issue, which relates, of course, to that, is the issue of intervention. Intervening with the brain. I already showed you that we do it on a daily basis in hospitals. Not only in hospitals. You take antidepressant, you intervene with the brain using pharmacology agents. So, and we can implant electrodes in your brain when you are sick with Parkinson and you are not Parkinsonian. So for this, I'm sure everybody, or most people, not everybody, because I already myself got some antagonistic reactions about who puts us scientists capable or enable or allowing myself, so to speak, to intervene with the brain of a sick person and change the brain by stimulating the brain. So these are ethical issues, and the society should discuss these issues of intervention for repair, but also for other manipulations. For example, you know, I'm a little depressed, not terribly depressed. I can survive. Should I take a drug? I'm not creative enough. I want to be more creative. Should I get a stimulation in my brain? Should I go to the doctor and say, doctor, stimulate my brain in this region so I will become more creative? This will come. People would want it. People come to my lecture sometimes asking me, please, professor, stimulate my brain. So should I stimulate their brain? The whole field is called augmenting cognition. So you have a cognition. Sometimes it is impaired. In Parkinson, your cognition is impaired, so I augment your cognition by stimulating when you are sick. But should I also use the capability to stimulate the brain, either via pharmacology or via electrical stimulation, or in other methods, to augment your cognition, to make you more cognitive, more capable, remember better, be more creative? So these are the issues. And one of the underlying issues of all these aspects of the brain, which has a lot of ethical implication, is the issue of free will. Because we feel that we are free agents, that I can come here and I can give a talk, that I can go, that I can move my hand. I feel free. It's essential for my well-being to feel free. It's fundamental for us. But are we free? And if we are not, let's say, we'll discuss it in a second, then what does it mean for society that we are not free, that we are just robots in some sense? What are the ethical implications of maybe the fact that we are not free? So let's start with reading thoughts. the issue of reading thoughts. There are many, of course, ethical aspects, and I'm not an expert in this myself, and I don't have time to discuss whatever I know. But of course, there are the issues of privacy. Can I probe your privacy? Like in polygraphs, let's say that I can read your thoughts. So who is the one to decide that I should read your thoughts? The issue of privacy, the issue of reproducibility, that I can reproduce things. So one aspect, and you will see it in a second, it could be that our brain is so noisy, so plastic and changing all the time, that I cannot reproduce something, that I read your brain now, I get some result, and then a second later your brain is somewhat different, it's noisy, it's changing, I read something else. So can I reproduce a result globally and say, now your brain is lying, now your brain is deceiving, now you enjoy a face? Can I say that, or the variability is so big that I cannot say specifically things at that level of assurance? Can I say it? Is it reproducible, or is it changing? How accurate are my measurements due to your dynamical brain? And the other question is individuality. Is it so that all of us have, so to speak, the same brain, or sufficiently same brain, that I can say something general when I look at your brain, not knowing your brain? I look at your brain now, and I say, now you think about your wife. And I look at another brain, and I say, now you look at your wife, the other brain. Or each brain is individual enough so I cannot generalize. I cannot say that when I see a phenomena, it's true for all. That's the issue of individuality. Do we have personal brains, sufficiently personal, that I cannot generalize? Or do we have something in common that I can generalize enough? So I can look at the brain, another brain, and say a common things for all the brain. So that's three issues. So let's look at it. So there are many tools to look at the brain. You already heard from Professor Eli Nelkin about this machine, the functional MRI. So functional magnetic resonance imaging. It's a non-invasive tool. You lie down in the magnet. You may see pictures in this visual input in this case. So there is a visual input coming to you. You lie down and you see a face, a building, a chair, whatever. Of course, you can also place their music if you want to discuss auditory system, or you can ask people to move their hand and so on. So, but in this case, let's look at the visual system. So the participants lie in the magnet, he gets visual input, and you can start to look at the brain, so to speak, while it is active, while it is processing a visual input, a face, and look at where things are happening functionally. What region of the brain is actively involved with processing this information? Now, I want to emphasize, as Eli Nelken did, that in this case, what you measure is blood flow to the active region. You don't really record electrical activity. But this magnet enables to look at your brain, so to speak, and see which region of your brain is now overactive electrically, meaning that it requires extra oxygen, extra energy, and because of this extra oxygen needed for the active, electrically active or synaptically active region, more blood, more oxygenated blood is flowing to this region. Then you suddenly can see within this machine that this region is more active, more blood flows there. So you record blood flow rather than direct electrical activity. But still, you can look at which region is active, and then you can use this machine both to look at a normal brain, but I will also show you that you can look at the brain of people who cannot interact otherwise, what is called the vegetative state. So people that are locked in, they cannot talk to you, they cannot move their hands, but maybe the brain is active, and maybe you can use this machine to directly look at the brain and ask questions of this patient. So let's look at it. So let me show you just a clip of how does it look to use functional magnetic imaging in the brain of a person lying down looking at faces. So this is the cut brain, so to speak, the imaged brain. Here is a screen, and on the screen you see faces. And you look at the brain, you image the brain during this face presentation on the screen, and you see, so let's wait here, there is a face coming up, and you see this particular region and another region in the similar region in the other side starts to light up, meaning there is activity there. Now you can, just for checking, just for control, you can scramble the screen, you can scramble the face, make the face scramble checkerboard face. So this is a face checkerboard scrambled, and you see the different regions are active much more diffusely. So I can say, okay, this is the region in this brain that process faces. I can call it face-related region in the brain because it lights up, particularly here, when you see a face. If you would look at chairs, or if you look at tables, or a scene, or a tree, somewhat different region will light up. So this is called functional mapping of the brain, because I map the brain in an active sense. I map the region that is active, that is functionally active when I see faces. So this is what this magnet can show you. This is a beautiful technique. The resolution is not very good because it's not a single cell level resolution. It's a whole region. As I said, these are many millions of cells are now overactive. Many millions of cells are now overactive, so it's not a single cell resolution. This is not what Obama project is all about, because there they want single cell activity. Spike. These are many spikes causing, and synapses causing the flow of blood there. But it's beautiful because it tells you which region is active when you are looking, seeing, thinking, and so on. So one question will be, and that's a question, when I look at your brain, and when I look at his brain, and when I look at her brain, and all of them are seeing faces, will this region be lighted up for all of us? And the answer is yes. We are sufficiently similar, you, me, and her, and she, that we have the same region, overall region, lights up. So the answer is yes. When I look using this technique, without knowing much about you, you can lie down in the machine, I can show you tables, I can show you, I don't know, trees, I can show you faces, and when I look at your brain now, and this region lights up, I say, without knowing what is being presented, I can say, there is a face in the world. You now process face. So that's enough general for all of us to be able to say that our brain is common in the sense that this region become an expert, so to speak, during evolution to process faces. Which face? Is it Clinton's face? Is it Obama's face? Is it my face? Is it your friend's face? This is something that is much more refined within this region, and this I cannot say on spot. I cannot look at this region now and say this is now the particular face that you process. For this I need to calibrate your brain. I need to put you enough time and show you the same face again and again. And through systems, machine learning, I will be able eventually to say that this particular detailed activity represents this particular face. But then I need you to cooperate with me in the machine. And so I need to calibrate. This is your personal brain. And the same face of Clinton that you know and myself know will look different, will activate different cells within your brain and my brain. So there are differences, of course, and this is exactly why you cannot say general things about brains beyond general things like now you process faces, now you move your right hand, and so on. So these are gross, common things. But the fine things, you develop your own representation of these things, and this I cannot read unless you enable me to read via enough repetition and so on.